Recently, I have spoke with a poker friend and I was surprised that after 2 years since we spoke, he's still playing the same 1-2 games. While he's very successful at these stakes, he continuously struggles to move up to higher games. Personally, I had much faster progression and I literally blast through low stakes in no time. It was very puzzling to me why I was able to dominate the higher stakes while my friend has been unable to move up for years. As he's telling me more about his journey, I instantly recognize major differences in the way how we think about poker and how we approach poker. And I realized that for each level, you must develop certain set of skills before you are able to advance. So this video is exactly about that. It's about identifying and mastering the crucial aspects at each stakes. Watch this video and you will have a clear plan to boost your poker career and avoid getting stuck. So let's start with total beginners. So this is very exciting phase for you. You should have mostly fun. If it's not fun at this stage, you should consider doing something else. You will likely not succeed in 2023. If we look at the player pool, so there are almost no professionals. All the players are just playing for fun. They're just doing tons of crazy stuff. Nobody knows how to play these stakes. So the key to dominate is to learn the fundamentals, which you will need later on. If you skip this phase, it's very possible that if you don't play your A game or B game, that you will often make basic mistakes. Number one edge you get at this stage is understanding positional advantage. So you should play in position as much as you can and play out of position as little as you can. If you play in position, you always have more information as your opponent, who is forced to act first. If you master this single concept, you will likely become a winning player at these stakes. Another important fundamentals are stake size awareness, how the game changes with different effective stake size. Understanding ranges on a basic level, so what ranges you are supposed to open pre-flop, from what position, and the same for a post-flop, which part of the range you are supposed to check, which part of the range you are supposed to c-bet, and so on and so on. These three things are a must to master, but the secret of dominating or crushing this stake is to build strong mental game. And by mental game, I mean mental toughness, being able to weather bad beats, being able to weather hot runs and don't become overconfident. This is a very important skill, which if you don't develop, you will suffer all your poker career. So playing solid at bad times is a sure way how to become successful in poker. So there are almost no professionals in these stakes. Players play very random. Your goal is to just play tight pre-flop ranges and focus on the fundamentals. Try to extract value and don't really bluff too much, as people are not folding. So focus on value betting and disregard bluffing. The theme of this stake is you're fighting against yourself. Everyone has no clue what to do, and most of the players, when they are not winning at these stakes, is just because they have not mastered one of these concepts. In terms of getting better at these stakes, you should take advantage of a cheap starting material on the training site, which is exactly for your level. Usually the price is $100 for a month, so very affordable for you, and you will get, basically these training sites are built for players on these lower stakes. If you follow what they say, you are destined to become a winning player. You should definitely post your hands and get feedback from a higher stakes player, ideally from one stake above you, who will have a lot of good strategies which will apply to your player pool. After digesting content from the training site, Get a couple hours of one-on-one coaching from a mid-stakes coach. He will really help you to pinpoint your biggest leaks, and he will also give you winning strategies which apply on your stakes. So try to digest this content as well. Focus on copying his winning strategy and try to understand the reasons behind it. It's important to avoid any solver work. Solver is a trap for many players and you can get stuck and don't improve at all. I know many players who are working with solver for many years, but they are grossly misapplying and misunderstanding how solver work, and they are not getting better at all. So avoid solver at these stakes for any cost. Bonus hack for you at these stakes: find more players with similar skill and talk about hands every day with them. That's how players used to get better before solvers, and it's still one of the best way how to get really good. I was always blessed to have very good players who would share their thoughts and who would discuss hands with me, and without this I would never become as good as I am. Alright, let's talk now which skills are needed to move up. The key to moving up here is to be able to extract value from recreational players, because there's still a lot of them playing there. So there is not as much room to bluff. Of course, I'm not saying bluffing is useless, but it should not be your number one priority. To master value betting, you must understand ranges. To be more precise, you must be very good hand reader. So two skills crucial to move up: value betting and hand reading. A side note about what to avoid at micro stakes and low stakes: be aware of high rake. Understand how rake affects your win rate. When to move up, it comes down to your confidence and your bankroll. If you don't feel confident enough, you should study more. And of course, if you don't have any bankroll, then you should either take a job outside poker and then increase your bankroll, and then you can move up to higher stakes. You don't need to try to build your bankroll at micro or low stakes, as it might be a futile quest with the current rake environment. The last thing about when to move up: consider your personality. If you have higher tolerance to risk, you can take more aggressive shots. If you are less risk averse, then you should build it up or move it up a little bit slow. Okay, so now you play mid stakes. This is a land where you can make a living, especially if you don't live in first world countries. That's why we have quite a bit of professionals here. If we talk about their biggest weakness or the way how to crush mid stakes, we have to look at who are these players. So these players started the same way like you at low stakes and micro stakes, and they learn fundamentals and I hope mental game. And then for them needed to move up, they had to learn how to extract value for recreational players, value bet. The big theme is that people under bluff in a lot of spots. They're going to play very straightforward, very face up, quite tight, and they're going to usually make big folds and not bluff catch enough. So as we said, at mid stakes, you have already players who are professionals. That's why you have to learn skill of game selection. Play tables where you have ideally two recreational players, fun players, so you can achieve high win rates and of course high hourly. If you are thinking about becoming a professional, act like you already are a professional. Develop routines, warm-ups, and structures how to study and approach poker like you would already be a professional, and that can go a long way in poker and as well in anywhere in life. So how to study? Now, the $100 subscription from a training site is becoming useless. Basically, it's less than one buy-in for all the mistakes players. So it's really high chance that big part of them already seen the same content as you. So you cannot expect to gain any edge against the player pool by watching this cheap content. So This is the time where you should look for a long-term coaching deal, as you already can provide some value to your coach. I personally had coaching almost my whole career, and it definitely paid off. There is added bonus of getting to know the best players in the world, being in touch with the best, where the coach can give you undivided one-on-one attention. It's priceless, and it goes really long way. And I guess you understand that value of this type of a deal versus a training site where you pay $100 per month. It's not even close. Again, stay away from the solver. Only acceptable use of the solver is for pre-flop training. None of the players at your stakes plays even remotely close to the solver. And again, for the skills needed to move up, we are going to look at high stakes player pool. So what is the player pool at high stakes? Usually there is only one recreational player. So in general, your focus shifts from exploiting recreational to exploiting recs. Now the solvers comes to play. If we think what type of recs play, these recs are really good in exploiting recreational players. So they are masters of value betting and master of hand reading. But because they played a lot in soft games, their game plan and their strategy is not balanced. They play very exploitative. Also, they tend to overfold a lot because at mid stakes, we said that people are massively under bluffing. So now I guess you can start see what is the key for moving up from mid stakes. It's aggression. This is number one issue I see in players who are stuck at the mid stake. They're playing very straightforward, very face up, they rarely bluff, and they are overfolding. You can still crush these stakes without starting with a solver, and I recommend you use population tendencies and find spots where people are overfolding. That being said, at these stakes, you are already very good poker player. Now you have a lot of understanding about poker concepts. You will be able to take advantage of solvers as well. Studying at these stakes involves getting coaching from the best players in the world or being part of the stable who has high stakes winning players, and work with a solver where you try to construct balanced strategy. Skills needed to crush 5-10, aggression, bluffing, and of course mastering of the previous skills, and having somehow balanced strategy, because a lot of action, a lot of hands are going to be against regs. When you're at a 5-10, you can be very proud of yourself. It's only very few players reach this type of success. But let's say you are really hungry, you are really passionate about the game, and you want to become the best player in the world. So now, how to move up to 10-20 or even 25-50? Let's talk about the pool at 10-20. So player pool at 10-20 usually has one fish at the table, similar to 5-10, but the fish is pretty good player. It's probably a winning player at mid stakes. Maybe even a live reg who overestimated his skill set and is just used to playing very soft games, which of course online is not the same case. Now these regs at 10-20, again, think about the journey they had to overcome. They had to beat mid stakes, so they can value bet very good, they can hand read very good. They had to beat 5-10. They learn how to have somehow balanced game, and they are capable of bluffs in spots players on lower stakes are not bluffing, or they are not even thinking about bluffing. So aggression is their strength. And I would go as far that they're actually over aggressive. So maybe you already suspect where I'm going with this. And that's right, to beat 10-20 player pool, you need to have very solid game plan, very solid strategy. Now, the solver comes in play where you're trying to create balanced strategies, because the Rex and 10-20, they are capable of triple barreling and playing for huge pots. you will have to play big spots with marginal hands under a lot of pressure. So you have to have confidence in your game and also mental toughness. Mental toughness is very crucial because some of these players are some of the best players in the world. I know, for example, when VD often play 10-20 or even lower than that. These players are used to battle Rex all the time, play long hours, and they have advantage because they played many years. They have a lot of experience. At these stakes, your advantage comes from knowing the equilibrium, because a lot of the 10-20 Rex, they're playing for a long time and they're not as interested into studying. They're just very well experienced players, and their edge comes from that they've been playing these stakes for years and they have pretty good bankrolls. At these stakes, it's really hard to find someone who is much better than you. So talking with your poker friends will be a big part of improving, trying to find new strategy, maybe have a lower stakes guys help you to study with the solver and so on. That's 10-20. Let's say you grind it for years, you work super hard and you finally beat 10-20. Now you enter the elite group. Only the best of the best play these stakes, because it takes years to really master the game, and you have to have sound game plan, but at the same time you have to be master exploiting your opponents. You have to be master adjusting to different ranges. And a lot of the edge comes from having very good bankroll, and game selection. Being in very good games can go a long way. Some 25-50 games, private games might be much softer than 5-10 games. And there are not really rules and guidelines for this this level. You have to come up with your own strategies. You have to be your own coach. Work with a lot of lower stakes guys. You can coach them, and together you might come up to new strategies. You will never become the best by copying other people. You will become best by creating your own strategies, by being ahead of everyone. And you have to always work on game and stay ahead of the player pool, because you will have always new hungry players trying to take your spot, trying to figure out your game and take your piece of pie. So here you have it, guys. This is how I would approach climbing up the stakes. So let me know what stakes you play right now, and see you next time.